G'day guys and girls, it's Tom Panos here. I'm here with our newspaper, the Daily Mercury in Mackay. It is the end of a 3 or 4 day tour of far north Queensland. The tour that Bill Shorten should have fucking done himself, right? I'm doing it for him, right? And I'm here talking to real estate agents in the room about a topic, and that is, how do you handle a marketplace that may have low buyer energy because the perception is there that things aren't good? It's dependent on external factors like coal mining and this, by the way, it doesn't have to be coal. It could be anything in your marketplace that is affecting the marketplace. So the first thing I'll say is, when there's bad press, because it came up, when there is bad press, the first thing I'll say is there is no such thing as bad press. It's either good for the buyer or it's good for the seller. It's not actually bad for everyone, right? Someone wins out of it. So what do smart real estate agents do with bad press? They make sure that that content is seen by their vendors, because if the buyers are seeing it, the vendor should know about it. So what a good real estate agent does is ensure that they're a content curator, that they're getting articles and emailing them to the owners and saying, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, at the moment, this is what buyers are seeing in the marketplace. That's the first thing. The second thing I'll say is this: when you've got a marketplace that's got low buyer energy, what has to become the market's the market. The market's the market. You can't do anything about the fucking market because you're pissed off about the market. The market sets the market. So there's another key point I want you to understand. The market sets the market. You might have the shits about the market, but the market doesn't care. It's like a tree. It has a life of its own. So then you turn around and you say to yourself, what can I do? Well, number one, you've got to make sure that you're really good at getting vendors to accept the reality of the marketplace. And how do you do that? Well, rule number one, learn the law of offer. The learn of offer says this: every offer you give to an owner shapes their expectation. And there's a golden rule in real estate, which is low offers, they blame the market. No offers, they blame the agent. The second thing that you've got to do is understand, in a marketplace that's got low buyer energy, you don't have that much control over what the buyer does, but you do have control over what the vendor does. So what you do is you make sure that the vendor is getting one report that is written per week, summarizing what you've done in marketing and what the buyer intel has said about the property. The next thing is this: when you've got low buyer energy, the market is not going to put a deal together. So what you've got to do is become very good at salesmanship. Here's an example of good salesmanship. So Ben is a buyer. He rings me up and he says, Tom, I saw number 45 Johnson Road. I'd like to come back and bring my family through. This is the typical second inspection call. What does a good real estate agent do in a marketplace that's got no buyer energy? He says, Ben, let me come back to you. There has been some people dealing with that property and buyers. I need to come back to you. So the first thing you do is you create some sense of urgency using the law of scarcity. The law of scarcity says people want what they can't have even more. You also use the law of social proof. The law of social proof says people will do what other people are doing. So if they know that someone else is interested in it, it elevates their energy into that property. So let's move on. Then you ring back that buyer and you say, hey, at this stage, it's available. I'll see you there at 4 o'clock. But what's a good real estate agent do in a marketplace that doesn't have high buyer energy? They make sure they organize to have other buyers at the property at 4:15, because what they're doing is showing, hey, the marketplace might not be great overall, but guess what? this house does have interest in it. And I'm not saying you ring up your uncle. I'm saying you're smart and you ring up buyers and you organise to have other buyers there at 4:15 because, you know, that is a bloody good time management strategy on its own. Like if you're going to go out to a property, you might as well actually show it to 2 or 3 buyers than just one buyer. So, guys and girls, so far we've talked about having good second inspections, using good press or bad press in your favour. The next thing I'd say is in a marketplace that has got low buyer energy, or the perception is that it's not strong, understand this. There is always people in a marketplace that want to do a deal. So the good news is this, that when you're selling a property, particularly if you're buying in the same market, it really doesn't make that much difference. Like, let's assume that your property is only worth $350 and, you know, there's uncertainty about, you know, values. Hey, the one you're going to buy, man, it's not like that's $1 million, right? At the end of the day, what you got to do is explain to people there are 2 chapters to the story. Yes, you sell a little bit cheaper, but you're buying cheaper. And I would say that, in fact, you are miles ahead buying in a bad market as an upgrader than in a hot market, because the gap is generally better for the upgrader. So gang, this has been a longer video than normal, but I am going to finish on this point. For the last 4 or 5 days, I've had about 30 conversations with real estate agents across Australia. And I'm going to tell you, out of the 30, all 30 have said to me that since Sunday morning, when Scott Morrison, I still can't get over Scott Morrison's speech, right? I thought it was funny, right? He gets up and he says, "How good is Australia? It's a miracle." I wouldn't have actually said that. I would have said, "This is the right thing. This is not a miracle," right? That's like winning a listing and saying, "Shit, this is a miracle. I can't believe I got it." Guys and girls, every person I've been speaking to in the last 4 or 5 days have said to me that since the federal election is over, this is what they're saying to me. Number one, they're saying to me that there's more buyer energy level, that people are feeling happy about the fact that negative gearing is not going to be touched, that capital gains tax concessions are not going to be halved, that also now people are telling me, think about this, you're going to be able, with the new policy that the coalition has got, you can buy a property with a 5% deposit. And this is not a new property, this is existing property. So you can go buy a $300,000 property with a $15,000 deposit. People can get $15,000 deposits together a lot more than saying a 50 or 60 grand deposit. So what would I be doing right now in this marketplace? I would 100% be getting on the phone and ringing my vendors up that are in my pipeline and saying, "Hey, I want to let you know that we've had a spike of buyer energy at the moment. There's a lot of people that have come out of the woodwork. I have less properties than normal. The word's going to get out and everyone's going to come on the market. Mr. and Mrs. Vendor, let's come on the market before them. I'd rather you be on the market in isolation than in competition, because if we wait till August, September, you're going to have a lot of other stock competing against, and that might soften your price. Come on earlier." That's what I would be doing. Guys and girls, see you later.